Hello, I'm Bert Enstring, your teacher for this subject. So in this step on interdependence, we make an inventory of the resources of the actors that may in one way or another help to solve the issue or may be a stumbling block to get things done. Typical examples of categories of resources are information, knowledge and skills, manpower, money, authority or formal power, the position in a network, do people have access to other actors, legitimacy and moral authority, organization or the ability to mobilize and use resources effectively and efficiently, and many others which you can think of yourself. And when you think back to the examples of the brand SPAR and the dispersed pollution policy making, you will realize that indeed some of these resources were used by actors to change the situation by either enabling or blocking policy implementation. When you know what the resources of the actors are, you can rank them according to their importance for problem solving and the extent to which the resources or means of one actor can be replaced by those of another actor. Take a look at this grid, and you will see that important means that are owned by one actor only, for instance the permit to build your wind park at a specific location, which is owned by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment, results in a high dependency on this ministry. While for constructing the piles, although of great importance too, you can turn to many competing offshore construction companies. Filling out this table shows whom you are really dependent on for what. We now move to a new table to identify the critical actors, and critical actors are those who have critical resources for problem solving. To do this analysis in a structured way, it is best to begin to fill out this matrix by listing for each actor what her important resources are. If this actor and her means can be replaced by other actors or not, and how dependent you are on this actor for solving the problem. If you are very dependent on such an actor, it is categorized to be a critical actor. An actor is the only one holding important resources. If an actor is the only one holding important resources, she is categorized critical. Well, let's fill out this table for the wind at sea case. We've listed the number of actors, typically the Ministry of Economic Affairs, two directorates of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment, Water and Space, and Environment and International, and the wind power industry. In the second column, we list their important resources, which we learned from our analysis. For retrieving this information, we went to their websites, we read through policy documents and reports, and distilled these means and also determined their importance. In the next three columns, we assess whether these means are unique or may be replaced by other means. And in the final row, for instance, you can see that one windmill producer can be replaced by any other one. And in the third row, we learn that international climate policy is not critical for wind parks at sea. Now we know who are the critical actors. We have to determine who have a real interest in solving the issue. In other words, who are the dedicated actors who want to invest in a new policy and are prepared to put in their means, and who are the non-dedicated ones, those who have little or no interest in the issue. And we want to assess whether they will support us or are opposed to the plans of our problem owner. So we look at their perception of the policy issue. Do they consider the problem and its potential solutions in the same way as we do, or do they hold completely opposing views? Knowing about their dedication and about their perception allows us to distinguish friends and foes and to assess our chances for success, and helps us to design an analysis and decision-making process in such a way that it makes our chances for success as big as possible. We now return to our wind at sea case, and we ask, what does the problem owner want? Well, she wants more windmills at sea. And we can then ask ourselves the question, do other actors want that too? How important is this objective for other actors? Well, by now we know who are the critical actors, and we ask ourselves who are the dedicated ones and who are the ones holding the same or conflicting views. And we can summarize and organize these findings in one final matrix, which is shown in this slide. You should take some time to study this matrix. You see the main distinction in the columns between dedicated and non-dedicated actors, while in the rows we distinguish actors holding the same interests and objectives and those with conflicting interest. The columns then are subdivided by critical and non-critical. This leads to 8 categories of actors, with strong allies and strong opponents in the red column, as they hold critical means, and the indispensable allies and potential blockers are in the green column. They are the ones who show little interest, but at the same time own important means that may lead to either success or failure of your policy. And then there are 2 columns of non-critical actors. They are for now of less important players in the game. Look at the bottom row and you see the qualification of the character of these actors. They can be biting dogs, barking dogs, sleeping dogs, or maybe stray dogs. Now remember the brand Spar. One could say that Greenpeace moved from the category of barking dogs to the category of biting dogs. And by barking loud, it woke up the sleeping dogs, the consumers in Germany, and even activated some stray dogs, like the ministry in Germany and the Netherlands, who were criticizing the Scottish government. So this can be a very dynamic situation, and parties can move from one place to another in the matrix. Now let's rest the old Spar case and fill out this matrix for the wind at sea case. Our critical and dedicated actors are the Ministry of Infra and Environment, especially the Directorate on Water and Space, and of course TenneT, the network administrator, and the energy companies. These are all dedicated supporters of wind farms at sea. They are opposed by the harbour authorities and the shipping sector. These representatives want to have free access to the North Sea. Other dedicated actors, but having little means, show up in the next column. Now we turn to the non-dedicated actors. They typically hold different interests and have other things on their mind and hold other priorities. Here we see the banks and the private investors, and luckily for our problem owner, they are potential allies if only the business proposition is attractive to them. And in the last column, we find the non-dedicated, non-critical actors. They may become important at a later stage, but for now, we won't pay much attention to them. We now have concluded our analysis. That doesn't mean we are finished. In fact, we now come to the most important step, determining the consequences of our newly acquired insights. Determining these consequences is the subject of our next clip.